May 8, 1945. American POW camp, near Frankfurt, Germany. I sit on a wooden bunk in a barracks that smells of too many unwashed bodies and fear. Through the wire fence, I can see American guards walking their patrols. They carry rifles. They speak a language I barely understand. And they are the enemy who has become my master. The war ended today. Germany surrendered. The Führer is dead. The Reich that was supposed to last 1,000 years lasted 12. Everything I was taught to believe, every promise, every certainty, every sacrifice, was a lie. If you want to know what it's like to lose everything you believed in, to fear your captors more than death, and then have one moment of music shatter every wall you've built, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and comment below. Can a single song change everything? Let's find out together. My name is Greta Hoffman. I am 28 years old. I was a nurse in the Wehrmacht, the German army. For 3 years, I treated wounded soldiers. I believed I was serving my country, doing my duty, being a good German. Now I am a prisoner, and I don't know if I'll ever see home again. April 15th, 1945, Field Hospital, Western Germany. The Americans are coming. Everyone says they're animals. They'll kill us all, especially the women. If we're captured, we should take the pills. Better to die with honor than suffer what they'll do to us. I wrote those words 3 weeks ago, believing every word. The propaganda had been clear. Americans were barbaric. They showed no mercy. German women captured by Americans faced unspeakable horrors. I was terrified, and wrong about almost everything. Let me take you back. Let me tell you how a German nurse became a prisoner of war, and how an American guard playing Beethoven saved something inside me I thought had died with Germany. 1942, Berlin, becoming a nurse. I didn't start out wanting to be a military nurse. I wanted to be a pianist. I'd studied at the Berlin Conservatory since I was 16. Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, the great German masters. Music was my life. But in 1942, the Reich needed nurses more than pianists. Every German woman had to contribute to the war effort. I was given a choice: work in a munitions factory or train as a nurse. I chose nursing. The training was brutal. 6 months of intensive study, anatomy, surgery, trauma care, how to amputate limbs with limited anesthetic, how to triage wounded men when supplies ran out, how to keep working when soldiers died in your hands. They taught us more than medicine. They taught us ideology, the superiority of the German race, the necessity of total war, the righteousness of our cause. Jews, Slavs, and other subhumans were the enemy. Americans and British were degenerates who would destroy civilization if we didn't stop them. I believed it, not because I was evil, though maybe I was, but because everyone around me believed it. My parents, my teachers, my fellow nurses, the Reich. When everyone tells you the same thing, when disagreeing means punishment or death, belief becomes survival. By December 1942, I was assigned to a field hospital near the Eastern Front. I was 25 years old. I'd never seen combat. I was about to see more death than I could imagine. 1942, 1944. The Eastern Front. The Eastern Front was hell. Not the dramatic hell of propaganda films. The glorious hell of heroic German soldiers defeating barbaric Russians. Real hell. Frozen hell. Bloody hell. Hell where young men died screaming for their mothers while I held their hands and lied that they'd be fine. The field hospital was a series of tents and requisition buildings near the front lines. We received wounded directly from battle. Men with missing limbs. Shrapnel wounds. Frostbite so severe we'd amputate fingers and toes. Burns. Infections. Shell shock. We worked 18-hour shifts, slept in cots, ate whatever the army provided, which was less and less as the war continued. We were always cold, always exhausted, always surrounded by death. I learned to disconnect, to see patients as problems to solve rather than human beings. Man with severed artery, clamp and suture. Man with abdominal wound, surgery if we had supplies, morphine if we didn't. Man screaming from shell shock, sedation and restraints. I became good at my job. Efficient, cold, necessary. But at night, I'd dream about Berlin, about the conservatory, about playing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata in the concert hall while my parents watched proudly, about a life that seemed to belong to someone else, someone who died when the war started. By 1944, everything was falling apart. The Russians were pushing west. German casualties were catastrophic. We no longer had enough bandages, morphine, antibiotics, anything. Men died from infections we could have treated a year earlier. And the stories started. Whispers about what happened to Germans captured by the Russians. Torture, execution. Worse. Whether true or exaggerated, the fear was real. We were terrified. In January 1945, our hospital evacuated. The Russians were advancing too fast. We moved west, away from the Eastern Front, toward what we thought was safety. We were moving toward the Americans instead. April 1945. Western Germany. Collapse. By April 1945, Germany was dying. Everyone knew it, though no one said it aloud. The Reich was collapsing. Russians from the east. Americans and British from the west. Air raids destroying what remained of our cities. Our hospital had relocated to a small town near Frankfurt. We treated whoever came. Wehrmacht soldiers, Luftwaffe pilots, even some SS when they couldn't reach their own medical facilities. We didn't ask questions. We just worked. The propaganda was frantic now. Victory was still possible, they said. Secret weapons would save us. The Führer had a plan. We must never surrender. Death before dishonor. But we could see the truth. The wounded told us. The Americans were unstoppable. Their equipment was superior. Their numbers overwhelming. Their morale high while ours crumbled. Germany was beaten. On April 10th, we received orders to evacuate again. The Americans were approaching. We had 24 hours to pack the hospital and move east, but there was nowhere to go. East was Russians. West was Americans. North was British. We were surrounded. Dr. Kruger, our chief surgeon, called a meeting. 30 medical staff, doctors, nurses, orderlies, all exhausted, all terrified. The Americans will be here within days, he said. Possibly hours. We cannot evacuate. We have too many critical patients. Too little transportation. We stay and hope for the best. Hope for the best? Nurse Muller was crying. The Americans will kill us. They'll... Stop. Dr. Kruger's voice was firm. I've been a soldier for 30 years. I've fought in 2 wars. And I'll tell you what I know. Surrender to the Americans is better than death. They follow rules, Geneva Conventions. They don't slaughter prisoners. Propaganda says, propaganda lies. If you want to flee, go. But I'm staying with my patients. They deserve care, regardless of who wins. I stayed. Not because I was brave, because I had nowhere else to go, and because Dr. Kruger was right. Patients deserved care. April 15th, 1945. The Americans arrive. They came at dawn, tanks rolling down the main street. Soldiers everywhere. They moved through the town systematically, clearing buildings, rounding up German soldiers, securing positions. We waited in the hospital. Dr. Kruger had hung white sheets from the windows. Surrender flags. He'd prepared paperwork documenting our patients, our supplies, our staff. He was treating this like a formal military surrender because that's what it was. American soldiers entered around 0800 hours. They moved carefully. Weapons ready, checking rooms, securing the building. Professional, cautious, not the barbaric animals of propaganda. An officer approached Dr. Kruger. They spoke in a mixture of German and English. The officer examined our paperwork, called for a translator, began organizing. You will continue treating patients, the translator explained. Under American supervision, you are now prisoners of war. You will be processed and transferred to a POW camp. Do you understand? We understood. We were prisoners now. The question was, what happened to prisoners? They separated us. Military personnel from civilians, doctors from nurses, men from women. Standard procedure, they said, for everyone's safety. The female nurses, 15 of us, were taken to a requisitioned school building. Temporary holding until they could process us properly. We sat in a classroom with bullet holes in the walls and American guards at the door. "They're going to kill us," Muller whispered. "Tonight. After dark. They won't," I said, surprising myself. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already. But I wasn't sure. None of us were. We sat there all day, waiting, imagining, fearing. April 1630, 1945. Processing. They didn't kill us. They processed us. Identification. Documentation. Medical examination. Interrogation. Brief, professional, focused on our military roles. The Americans were surprisingly bureaucratic. Everything documented. Everything official. The interrogator assigned to me was a captain named Mitchell. He spoke decent German. He asked about my service, where I'd been stationed, what I'd seen, who I'd treated. "Did you treat SS personnel?" he asked. "Sometimes. When they came to our hospital, we treated everyone. Did you see evidence of war crimes? Atrocities? Had I? Yes. Wounded SS soldiers who'd bragged about things that made me sick. Villages burned, civilians shot. Things I'd tried not to think about because thinking meant confronting what Germany had become. I was a nurse. I treated patients. I didn't ask questions. Mitchell wrote notes. You understand you're a prisoner of war. You'll be transferred to a proper camp. You'll be treated according to Geneva Convention standards. You'll remain imprisoned until repatriation can be arranged. This could take months, possibly years. Do you understand? I understood. My war was over. My freedom was gone. My future was uncertain. May 1-7, 1945. Transfer to POW camp. On May 1st, we were transferred to a larger POW camp outside Frankfurt. The camp held thousands. German soldiers, nurses, administrative personnel, anyone captured in the final weeks of war. The camp was organized, barracks, mess hall, medical facilities, fenced perimeter with guard towers. It wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't brutal. We were given bunks, food, not great, but adequate, medical care, access to Red Cross parcels, and we waited. On May 7th, rumors spread. Germany had surrendered. Unconditional surrender. The Reich was finished. Some prisoners celebrated quietly, grateful the killing had stopped. Others were devastated. Everything they'd fought for was lost. Some, like me, felt nothing. Numbness. The war had ended, but our imprisonment hadn't. That evening, we gathered in the barracks. 15 women in one room. Some crying, some silent, some raging against fate. Muller was furious. We lost. Everything. The Führer is dead. Germany is destroyed. The Americans and Russians are dividing our country like a cake. Everything we sacrificed. For nothing. Maybe it's better, I said quietly. Maybe losing was necessary. To end this. To stop the killing. Better? How is any of this better? I didn't have an answer. But I knew the war had been wrong. Not at first. Maybe at first it had been defensive, necessary. But it had become something evil. Something that needed to end. At least we're alive, I said. At least the killing stopped. You sound like a traitor. I sound like someone who's tired of death. We didn't speak after that, but I felt something shift. A crack in the wall I'd built around myself. The beginning of something I couldn't name yet. Understanding, maybe. Or acceptance. Or just exhaustion with lies. May 8-15, 1945. Adjustment. The first week after surrender was strange. We were still prisoners, but the urgency was gone. No more war, no more fighting. Just waiting. For what? We didn't know. The Americans established routines. Roll call, meals, work details, kitchen duty, cleaning, laundry. We were given basic tasks to pass time and maintain camp operations. I volunteered for the medical tent. My skills were needed. Prisoners got sick, injured. I could help. And helping meant not thinking about everything else. The American medic in charge was Sergeant Davis. He was maybe 35, calm, competent. He watched me work for a day, then nodded. You know what you're doing. Good. We need competent people. It was the first compliment I'd received from an American. The first acknowledgement that I was still useful, still human. We worked together, Davis and I, treating prisoners, infections, injuries, malnutrition, shell shock. Nothing dramatic. Just care. Davis was professional. Distant, but not cruel. He followed rules, maintained boundaries, but he was fair. When supplies came in, he made sure German medical staff got what they needed. Why help us? I asked one day. We're the enemy. We're the enemy. Past tense. Now you're just people who need help. He shrugged. That's what medics do. Help people. Doesn't matter what side they were on. That simple statement, we're just people, rattled something inside me, because for years I'd been taught that Americans weren't people. They were enemies, others, different. But Davis treated me like a colleague, a fellow medical professional, a person. It was the second crack in the wall. May 16th, 1945. The piano. On May 16th, something changed everything. The Americans had set up a recreation area, tables, chairs, some books donated by the Red Cross, and in the corner, inexplicably, a piano, a battered upright piano. Half the keys didn't work. Out of tune. Probably requisitioned from a nearby house. But it was a piano. I stared at it for 20 minutes. I hadn't touched a piano in 3 years. Hadn't wanted to. Music belonged to the person I'd been before the war, the girl who'd studied at the conservatory, the girl who'd died somewhere on the Eastern Front. But I couldn't stop looking at it. An American guard noticed. Young guy, maybe 22. Private Williams. He spoke a little German. You play? He asked. I used to. Long time ago. Want to try? I'm a prisoner. I'm not allowed. Who says you're not allowed? It's just sitting there. Might as well get used. I looked around. No other guards nearby. Williams was smiling, encouraging. What was the harm? I sat at the bench. The keys were cold under my fingers. Muscle memory returned. Hand position, posture, the weight of touch. I played a scale. Half the keys stuck or made wrong notes. But it was music. I closed my eyes and played the only piece I could remember completely. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. First movement. The one I'd performed at the conservatory. The one my father had loved. The broken piano couldn't do it justice. Wrong notes. Missing keys. But the melody was there. That haunting, melancholic progression. That sense of darkness and light intertwined. I played the whole piece. Maybe 3 minutes. When I finished, I opened my eyes. A dozen prisoners had gathered. Silent. Some crying. Music, real music, was something we'd forgotten existed. A reminder of life before war. And Private Williams was smiling. That was beautiful. Really beautiful. What was it? Beethoven. Moonlight Sonata. Beethoven. He's German, right? Yes. One of the greatest composers who ever lived. Williams nodded thoughtfully. Then he surprised me. My mom loves Beethoven. She plays piano too. Back in Iowa. She always said music was universal. Doesn't belong to any country. Just belongs to humans. Music is universal. It doesn't belong to any country. The third crack. This one deeper, because if music was universal, if Beethoven belonged to everyone, then maybe other things were universal too. Humanity. Compassion. The desire for peace. Maybe the walls between us weren't as solid as I'd thought. May 1731, 1945. The routine. After that first time, I played the piano every evening. It became routine. Finish work in the medical tent. Go to the recreation area. Play whatever I could remember. Other prisoners came to listen. Some sang along quietly. Some just sat. Music was an escape. A reminder of civilization. A promise that normal life still existed somewhere. American guards listened too. They never interfered. Some seemed to enjoy it. Others just appreciated the calm it brought to the camp. Private Williams became a regular. He'd sit nearby, reading or writing letters, half listening. Sometimes he'd ask about the pieces I played. I'd explain. Chopin, Schumann, Mozart, Bach, the great composers. The music that had defined my life before war destroyed it. One evening, he brought sheet music. Found this in town. Thought you might want it. More Beethoven. Some pieces I didn't know. Some I'd performed years ago. The gesture was kind, unnecessary. He didn't have to bring me anything. Thank you, I said. Why did you do this? William shrugged. You make people happy when you play. Figured you deserved something in return. I'm a prisoner. I don't deserve anything. Everyone deserves kindness. Even prisoners. Maybe especially prisoners. The fourth crack. And this one went deep. Because William saw me as someone deserving of kindness. Not as an enemy. Not as a German. Just as a person who played piano and made people happy. When did my captors become more humane than my own people had been? June 1st to 7th, 1945. The question. In early June, we received news about what was happening outside the camp. The full extent of Nazi atrocities was emerging. Concentration camps, death camps, 6 million Jews murdered, millions of others, Poles, Russians, Roma, disabled people, political prisoners. The Americans made us watch newsreels, footage from liberated camps, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau, Auschwitz, piles of corpses, living skeletons, gas chambers, crematoria. We sat in stunned silence. Some prisoners claimed it was propaganda, lies, exaggeration. But the footage was real, the evidence overwhelming. Germany, my Germany, had done this. I ran to the barracks and vomited, then I cried. For hours, for the victims, for my complicity, for believing lies, for serving a regime that had committed genocide while I'd been treating wounded soldiers and believing we were the good ones. Had I known? Had I suspected? Yes and no. I'd heard rumors, seen things, but I'd told myself it was wartime propaganda. Exaggeration. Impossible. But it wasn't impossible. It had happened. And I'd been part of the machine that made it possible. Private Williams found me that evening. I was sitting alone, staring at nothing. You saw the films, he said. Not a question. Yes. Hard to process, isn't it? How could we do this? How could my country, my people, how could we become monsters? Williams sat beside me. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. Fear, hatred, propaganda. Maybe humans are always capable of becoming monsters if the circumstances are right. Does that excuse it? No, nothing excuses it. But understanding how it happened, that might prevent it from happening again. You don't hate us after seeing what we did? Williams was quiet for a long time. I hate what was done. The camps, the murders, the evil. But you? He looked at me. You're a nurse who played Beethoven and made prisoners smile. You're not the same as the people who ran those camps. But I served the same government, wore the same uniform, believed the same lies. And now you know better. What you do with that knowledge. That's what matters now. What I did with that knowledge. The question that would define the rest of my life. June 8th, 1945. The breaking point. I stopped playing piano. Couldn't make myself go to the recreation area. Couldn't touch those keys. Music had been my escape, my refuge. But after seeing those films, I felt I had no right to beauty. No right to joy. No right to anything. I worked in the medical tent. Ate mechanically. Slept fitlessly. Existed in a fog of guilt and shame. On June 8th, Williams approached me in the medical tent. You stopped playing. Yes. Why? I don't deserve to make music. Not after everything. You didn't run those camps. I didn't stop them either. I just kept my head down and did my job. That makes me complicit. Williams pulled up a chair. Can I tell you something? My grandfather was German. Immigrated to America in 1920. He left because he saw where Germany was headed. He was right. But he never stopped being German. Never stopped loving German culture, music, literature, philosophy. He always said, Germany gave the world Beethoven and Goethe. But it also gave the world Hitler. Both are true. Both are real. What's your point? My point is, you don't honor the good by destroying yourself over the bad. You honor it by carrying it forward, by being better, by making sure the good survives. How do I do that? By living, by creating instead of destroying, by playing Beethoven instead of staying silent. He stood up. The prisoners miss your music. I miss it. Don't punish everyone because you feel guilty. He left me with that, and I thought about it all day. That evening, I went to the recreation area. The piano sat there, dusty, forgotten. I sat down, put my fingers on the keys, and I played. Not Moonlight Sonata this time. Something different. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Ode to Joy. The movement about universal brotherhood. About humans coming together despite differences. I couldn't play the full orchestral piece on a broken piano. But I played the melody, and I understood something. Music wasn't an escape. It was a bridge, a way to connect despite everything that divided us. When I finished, Williams was standing nearby, smiling. "Welcome back," he said, and for the first time since the war ended, I felt something besides guilt and shame. I felt hope. June 9:30, 1945. Music as medicine. After I started playing again, something shifted in the camp. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually, like ice melting. The evening concerts became a ritual. Prisoners would gather after dinner, sit on benches or the floor, listen. Sometimes cry, sometimes smile. Always silent except for the music. I played everything I could remember. German composers mostly. Beethoven, Bach, Brahms, Schumann. But also Chopin, Polish, Debussy, French. Even some American pieces Williams brought me. Gershwin. Songs I'd never heard before the war. "Music doesn't have nationality," Williams said one evening. "It's just sound organized into beauty. Anyone can appreciate it. Anyone can create it." He was right. The American guards enjoyed the German composers as much as we did. Music transcended the walls we'd built between us. One evening, a former Wehrmacht lieutenant approached me. His name was Fischer. He'd lost his right arm at the Eastern Front. "I was at the Berlin Philharmonic in 1938, he said. "I heard you play, at the conservatory. You were 17. You performed Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 21. You were brilliant. I'd forgotten that concert, forgotten that version of myself, the girl who'd believed in music and Germany and a future that wasn't war. That was a lifetime ago," I said. "But you're still that person, the pianist, the artist. The war tried to destroy her, but it didn't. You're still here." Was I? Was anything left of that girl? Or was I someone new? Someone shaped by 3 years of blood and death and lies? "I don't know who I am anymore," I admitted. "Then figure it out. You have time. The war's over. You get to decide who you become next." Who I become next. Not who I was. Who I choose to be. The idea was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. July 1945. Letters from home. In July, the Red Cross began delivering mail. Letters from families trying to locate relatives, trying to confirm who'd survived. I received a letter from my mother. She was alive, living in what remained of our Berlin apartment. My father had died in an air raid in February. My younger brother was missing, last seen retreating from the Eastern Front, presumed dead. My mother's letter was short, factual. She didn't cry or rage, just stated facts. This is what happened. This is where I am. This is what I know. At the end, she wrote, "I heard from neighbors that you might be alive. In an American camp. If you receive this, please write back. Let me know you survived. That's all I need to know. That you survived." I wrote back immediately. Told her I was alive. Healthy. Being treated well. That I'd be home as soon as repatriation was arranged. I didn't tell her about the guilt, the shame, the horror of learning what Germany had done. I didn't tell her about the piano or Williams or the cracks in the walls I'd built. I just told her I'd survived, because that's what she needed to hear. July 15th, 1945. The conversation. Williams approached me one evening while I was playing, waited until I finished. He never interrupted. Then he sat beside me on the bench. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Yes." "Do you hate us, Americans, for defeating Germany? For imprisoning you?" I thought about that. Did I hate Americans? I'd been taught to. Propaganda had been clear. Americans were degenerate, weak, our enemies, responsible for Germany's suffering. But the Americans I'd met, Williams, Davis, Captain Mitchell, the dozens of guards who'd treated us fairly, they weren't monsters. They were just young men far from home, doing a job, trying to be decent human beings in impossible circumstances. "No," I said finally, "I don't hate you. Maybe I should, but I don't." "Why not?" "Because you're not what I was taught to expect. You're not cruel. You follow rules. You treat us like prisoners of war, not like animals. That's more humanity than my own government showed to millions of people in camps. Williams was quiet. Then, can I tell you why I volunteered for camp guard duty? Most guys hate it. Boring, depressing. But I volunteered because I wanted to understand. How did an entire nation follow Hitler? How did ordinary Germans become Nazis? Were you all evil? All stupid? All brainwashed? And what did you learn? That you're just people. Some good, some bad. Most somewhere in between. You believed lies because everyone around you believed lies. You followed orders because refusing meant death. You did terrible things, but also ordinary things. You're complicated, like everyone. Does that excuse what we did? No. Nothing excuses genocide. But understanding how it happened, that's the first step to making sure it never happens again. We sat in silence, staring at the piano keys. Then William said something that would stay with me forever. My mom told me once, every person contains multitudes. We're all capable of great evil and great good. The difference is choices. Small choices, made every day. You chose to play piano for prisoners. That's a small choice, but it matters. It makes the world slightly better. That's all any of us can do. Make small choices toward good instead of evil. Small choices toward good. Playing piano, treating patients, writing to my mother, being kind instead of cruel, choosing hope instead of despair. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. August 1945. Teaching. In August, something unexpected happened. A young German prisoner, a boy really, only 19, approached me after an evening concert. "Will you teach me?" he asked. "To play piano? I'm not a teacher. I barely remember how to play myself, but you do play. Better than anyone I've ever heard. Please, I need something. Something besides thinking about the war, about everything we lost." His name was Klaus. He'd been conscripted at 17, fought for 6 months, captured during the final collapse. He'd never fired his rifle at anyone, surrendered the first time he saw Americans. I started teaching him. Basic finger exercises, scales, simple melodies. He was terrible at first. No musical training, clumsy hands, no natural talent. But he was eager, desperate for something beautiful in a world of ugliness. Other prisoners asked to learn too. Soon I had 5 students, then 10. The piano became a school. Music became a lifeline. Williams watched, amused. "You're running a conservatory in a POW camp. It gives them hope, something to work toward, a reason to believe there's life after this. What about you? What gives you hope?" I thought about that. This. Teaching. Playing. Knowing that music survived, that beauty survived, that we can still create something good even after everything we destroyed. September 1945. The announcement. In September, the Americans announced repatriation plans. German prisoners would be released in stages. Priority for women, sick, elderly. Able-bodied men would work on reconstruction first, clearing rubble, rebuilding infrastructure, paying back some of what had been destroyed. The female nurses would be among the first group released. We'd be home by November. I should have been thrilled. Freedom, home, my mother, normal life, but I felt something else. Fear. What was I going home to? A destroyed country. A shamed nation. A people trying to rebuild from the greatest evil in history. What was my place in that world? And something else too. Sadness at leaving. The camp had become strange sanctuary. A place where I'd learned who I really was. Where American guards had shown me more humanity than my own government had. Where a broken piano had saved my soul. "You'll be leaving soon," William said one evening. "Yes, November probably. Will you keep playing when you're home?" "I don't know. There probably aren't many pianos left in Berlin. Most were burned for fuel last winter. Then you'll have to find one. Fix it. The world needs people who create beauty, especially now. What will you do when your deployment ends? Go home to Iowa. Help my dad on the farm. Maybe go to college. Try to forget the war and remember why we fought it. Will you forget this? The camp? The prisoners?" William smiled. "I'll never forget you, Greta. The German nurse who played Beethoven and reminded me that enemies are just people on the other side. That music is stronger than hate. That small kindnesses matter. I started crying, not from sadness, from gratitude. This American, this enemy who'd become a friend, had given me back something I'd thought I'd lost forever. My humanity. October 1945, the final concert. On October 30th, 1945, my last night in the camp, I gave a final concert. Every prisoner who could attend came. Even the Americans, guards who normally maintained distance, pretending not to notice the music. Tonight they sat too, listened openly. I played for 2 hours, everything I knew. German composers, French, Polish, American. I played the music of enemies who'd killed each other for 6 years. I played proof that we were all human, all part of the same species, all capable of creating beauty together. The final piece was Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, the piece I'd played the first time, the piece that had started everything. I played it perfectly. The broken piano couldn't contain it. Keys stuck, notes were wrong, but the music was perfect anyway. Because music isn't about perfect notes, it's about perfect emotion, perfect connection, perfect humanity. When I finished, silence. Then applause. Prisoners crying. Guards wiping eyes. Everyone understanding. This moment mattered. This small collection of humans, former enemies, current prisoners, people thrown together by history, had found something beautiful together. Williams approached after everyone left. He handed me something. Sheet music. Worn. Annotated. Clearly old and precious. This belonged to my mom, he said. Beethoven's complete piano works. She asked me to give it to someone who'd appreciate it, someone who needed it. That's you. I can't take this. It's too valuable, too personal. That's why you have to take it. Music shouldn't be hoarded. Should be shared, played, loved. Promise me you'll play. No matter how hard things get, promise me you'll keep creating beauty. I promised. We stood there, German nurse and American guard, looking at sheet music. Two people who should have been enemies, who'd become something else. Friends. Thank you, I said. For everything. For being kind when you didn't have to be. For treating me like a human. For playing... Wait, you never played. You brought sheet music, but you never... William smiled. I can't play piano. Never learned. But my mom does. And she taught me. You don't have to make music to appreciate it. You just have to listen. I listened, Greta. And what I heard changed me. The next morning I left the camp. Walked out through the gates. Free. Sort of. I carried Williams's mother's sheet music. Carried memories of a broken piano. Carried the understanding that enemies can become friends if we let them. That music transcends borders. That small choices toward good matter. That hope survives. Even after everything, especially after everything, I was going home. To a destroyed country. A shamed nation. An uncertain future, but I was bringing something with me. Not just sheet music, but the knowledge that we could rebuild. That from ashes and guilt and shame, something beautiful could grow. That Beethoven was right. All humans are brothers. Even after we forget. Even after we become enemies. Even after we do unspeakable things. The music remembers. And if we listen, we can remember too. November 3rd, 1945. Berlin. What remains of it? The train station is a skeleton. Twisted metal beams, shattered glass, walls with massive holes where bombs hit. But trains still run. Life continues somehow in the ruins. I step onto the platform with my small bag, everything I own. The sheet music Williams gave me. A change of clothes. Letters from my mother. That's it. That's all that survived the war. Berlin is unrecognizable. The city I left in 1942 is gone. In its place, rubble. Mountains of rubble. Buildings reduced to shells. Streets barely passable. Women and old men clearing debris by hand. Children playing in bomb craters like they're parks. This is the 1,000-year Reich. 12 years. Destroyed in 6. This is what we built with our hatred and pride and certainty that we were superior. Ashes. Just ashes. November 3rd, 1945. Mother's apartment. The walk from the station takes 2 hours. Streets are blocked. I get lost. Landmarks I knew are gone. Everything looks the same. destroyed. My mother's building in Prenzlauer Berg is still standing. Mostly. The top 2 floors are gone. The ground floor is intact. She lives there now. She'd written, ground floor, apartment 3. Come home. I knock on the door. Wait. Knock again. The door opens. An old woman stands there. Gray hair. Thin. Worn. I almost don't recognize her. She's aged 20 years and 3. Greta? Mama. We don't hug. Don't cry. Just stand there staring at each other. 2 survivors of the same catastrophe. 2 women trying to understand what comes next. You're thinner, she says finally. So are you. Come in. It's not much. But it's home. Home. The word feels foreign. The apartment is 1 room. A bed. A table. 2 chairs. A small stove. That's it. Everything else. Furniture, books, photographs, a lifetime of possessions, gone. Burned for fuel last winter or destroyed in bombings. I made soup, Mama says. Turnips and potatoes. That's all we have. But it's hot. We sit at the table. Eat soup in silence. Outside I hear hammering. Voices. The sound of a city trying to rebuild. Your father, Mama says finally. February 17th. The bombing. He was at work. The factory took a direct hit. They never found... There wasn't anything to bury. I'm sorry. Your brother. Michael. Last letter came in March. He was with Army Group Center. Retreating from the Russians. Then nothing. The Red Cross lists him as missing. Presumed dead. 2 years ago, we were a family. Father, mother, 2 children. Now it's just us. 2 women in a destroyed city. What happened to you? Mama asks. The camps? Did they treated us well. According to the Geneva Conventions. We were lucky. We surrendered to Americans, not Russians. Lucky. She says the word like it's foreign. Is anyone lucky anymore? I don't have an answer. November 1945. The reality of defeat. The next weeks are about survival. Basic, animal survival. Berlin in November 1945 is hell. No electricity. The grid is destroyed. No gas. Same. No running water most days. No food except what the Allies distribute or what you can trade on the black market. Everyone is hungry. Everyone is cold. Everyone is desperate. The Allies divided Berlin into sectors. American. British. French. Soviet. We're in the Soviet sector. The Russians are harsh. Brutal. They haven't forgotten what Germany did to their country. 20 million Soviet dead. That's what the war cost them. They're not interested in mercy. German women fear the Russians. For good reason. Stories circulate. Rapes. Violence. Some women carry poison. Better death than dishonor. I'm lucky. The Russians mostly ignore me. I'm too thin. Too old. Not worth their attention. But other women aren't so lucky. I find work at a hospital. One of the few still functioning. They need nurses desperately. I work 12-hour shifts for food rations. Bread, potatoes, sometimes meat. Enough to keep my mother and me alive. The hospital is overwhelmed. Malnutrition, tuberculosis, infections, injuries from clearing rubble. Everyone is sick. Everyone is dying slowly. We treat what we can with almost nothing. It's like the field hospitals on the Eastern Front. Except now the patients are German, civilians, children, old people. The innocents who suffered for leaders' decisions. December 1945. Music in ruins. One evening, walking home from the hospital, I hear something impossible. Piano music. I follow the sound. It's coming from a half-destroyed church. The roof is gone. The walls are pockmarked with bullet holes. But the church is still standing. And inside, someone is playing piano. I enter carefully. A man sits at an old upright piano. He's maybe 60, thin, wearing a threadbare coat. He plays Schubert, beautifully, perfectly, like the world isn't ending around him. I stand in the shadows and listen. When he finishes, I applaud quietly. He turns, smiles, a listener. I haven't had one of those in months. You play beautifully. Thank you. I was a professor at the conservatory. Before the war. Now I'm just an old man with a piano that survived when everything else died. The conservatory. I studied there, 1938 to 1942, before I became a nurse. His eyes light up. What's your name? Greta Hoffman. Hoffman. Yes, I remember you. You played Mozart's piano concerto. You were brilliant. One of our most promising students. He stands, excited. What happened to you? I tell him. The war, the Eastern Front, the POW camp, coming home to ruins. He listens, nodding. We all have similar stories. We all lost everything. But, he gestures at the piano. Music survived. That's something. Why do you play here? In a destroyed church? For no one? I play because I must. Because music is the only thing that reminds me we're still human. Still capable of beauty. Still worthy of existence. He sits back at the piano. Play with me. I remember you were talented. I haven't played in months. Not since the camp. Then it's time. Come. I sit beside him. He starts Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. The piece I played at the camp. The piece Williams loved. I join in. 4 hands, 1 piano. 2 survivors playing music in a destroyed church with no roof and no heat and no hope, except what we create ourselves. When we finish, we're both crying. Music survives, he says. As long as people play, music survives. And if music survives, maybe we do too. His name is Professor Reinhardt. He becomes my teacher again. Not formally. There's no conservatory anymore. But 3 times a week, I go to the church. We play. We remember. We create beauty in hell. January 1946. The American sector. In January, I'm transferred to a hospital in the American sector. The Soviets and Americans are swapping personnel, organizing resources. I'm sent to work at a U.S. Army field hospital treating German civilians. The American hospital is different. They have supplies, medicine, food, electricity from generators, heat. It's like entering a different world, a world where resources exist, where systems function, where people aren't dying from preventable diseases. The head nurse is Lieutenant Morrison, American, efficient, fair. She speaks no German, but we manage through translators and gestures. You have experience, Morrison says, via translator. Eastern Front, POW camp. You've seen worse than this. Much worse. Good. We need nurses who don't break under pressure. This city is in crisis. We're trying to prevent epidemic. Keep people alive through winter. You'll work hard, long shifts. But we'll feed you, pay you, treat you fairly. It's the best offer I've had since the war ended. I start work immediately. The patients are German civilians, but the staff is mixed. American, German, even some British. We work together, former enemies, united by the simple goal of keeping people alive. One day, I'm treating a child, 8 years old, malnourished, tuberculosis, when I hear familiar music. Someone has a radio playing in the nurse's station. Beethoven, Ode to Joy. I stop working. Just stand there, listening, remembering Williams, the camp, the broken piano, the moments of humanity in inhuman circumstances. Lieutenant Morrison notices. You like Beethoven? Yes, very much. Me too. My husband loved classical music. He died at Normandy. This was his favorite piece. She's quiet for a moment. Music is universal, you know. Doesn't care about nations or wars. Just exists. Beautiful. Music is universal. Williams's mother had said the same thing. Maybe it was true. Maybe music was the thing that could bridge any divide. Would you like to play? Morrison asks. We have a piano in the recreation room. None of us can play. But if you can, there's a piano. At the American hospital. Waiting for someone to bring it to life. Yes, I say. I'd like that very much. February 1946. Concert for the survivors. On February 14th, Valentine's Day the Americans call it, we hold a concert at the hospital. Morrison's idea. Something to lift spirits, give people hope, show that beauty still exists. I'm terrified. I haven't performed publicly since the conservatory in 1942. Haven't played for an audience except prisoners in a camp. This is different. This is real, professional, important. The audience is mixed. German patients who can attend. Hospital staff, American, British, German. Some Soviet officers who heard about it and came out of curiosity. Even a few reporters. I sit at the piano. It's a good one. A Steinway, probably requisitioned from a wealthy house. In tune. Beautiful. The kind of piano I'd dreamed of playing as a student. I play German composers. Beethoven, Schumann, Brahms. But also others. Chopin, Debussy, Gershwin. Music from enemy countries. Music that belongs to everyone. The audience is silent, attentive. Some cry, some smile. Everyone listens. For 45 minutes, we're not victors and vanquished. Not Americans and Germans and Soviets. Just humans listening to music. Just people appreciating beauty. Just survivors finding moments of peace in chaos. When I finish, applause. Standing ovation. Americans applauding a German pianist. Germans applauding American-provided music. Former enemies celebrating art together. Lieutenant Morrison approaches after. That was extraordinary. Where did you learn to play like that? The conservatory. Before the war. When I thought I'd be a concert pianist instead of a nurse. You still could be. After everything settles. After Reconstruction. Germany will need artists. Need people who can create beauty. You could do that. Could I? Was that possible? A concert pianist in a destroyed country? Playing in ruined concert halls for audiences who could barely feed themselves? Maybe. Someday. If we survived. If we rebuilt. If we chose beauty over bitterness. March-June 1946. Small steps. The next months are slow progress. The hospital continues. I work. I play piano occasionally. For patients, for staff, for myself. Mama's health improves slightly. Better food, better conditions. We're surviving. Berlin is slowly clearing rubble. The Trümmerfrauen, rubble women, work every day. Clearing debris by hand, salvaging bricks, making streets passable. They're rebuilding Germany stone by stone. Most are women. The men are dead, or prisoners, or missing. I join them on my days off, clearing rubble, carrying bricks, doing physical labor that leaves me exhausted, but purposeful. We're building something. Slowly, painfully, but building. Professor Reinhardt continues our lessons at the church. He has a plan. Reopen the conservatory. Not now, but soon, when things stabilize, when Reconstruction allows. He wants me to teach, to train the next generation, to rebuild German musical culture from ashes. Music was Germany's gift to the world, he says. Beethoven, Bach, Wagner, Mozart. Yes, Austrian, but German-speaking. We gave the world this. We can't let Hitler destroy that legacy. Hitler destroyed everything. No, he destroyed much, but not everything. Music survived. Art survived. Literature survived. The good parts of German culture survived. That's what we rebuild with. Not the nationalism, not the hatred, the beauty, the art, the humanity. It's a nice dream, maybe an impossible one, but it gives us purpose, something to work toward beyond mere survival. July 1946. The letter. In July, I receive a letter. American postmark, Iowa. I open it with shaking hands. Dear Greta, I hope this reaches you. I hope you made it home safely. I hope Berlin is kinder than the camp was, though I suspect it's harder in different ways. I'm back on the farm, planting corn, helping my dad, going to college in the fall, Iowa State, studying agriculture, trying to build something instead of destroying it. My mom asked me to tell you. She's glad her sheet music found someone who'll use it. She says music should be played, not hoarded. She says you're welcome to visit Iowa someday. She'd like to meet the German nurse who played Beethoven for prisoners and reminded her son that enemies are just people. I think about the camp sometimes, about you playing piano, about how music made everything more bearable, about how small kindnesses matter. Keep playing, Greta. The world needs people who create beauty, especially now. Your friend, Private James Williams, Iowa, USA. I read the letter 3 times. Then I cry. Not from sadness, from gratitude, from the knowledge that Williams remembered. that our friendship survived distance and time and all the walls between us. I write back immediately, tell him about Berlin, the hospital, the church, Professor Reinhardt, the slow rebuilding, the hope that maybe, someday, beauty returns. We become pen pals. Williams and I, writing every few months, sharing lives across the ocean. American farmer and German nurse. Two people who should be enemies, but chose friendship instead. August 1946-1948. Reconstruction. The next 2 years are hard but hopeful. Slow progress. Small victories. Berlin gradually comes back to life. The Allies provide more aid. The Marshall Plan begins. Massive investment in European recovery. Germany is divided but rebuilding. People have food again. Real food. Not just turnips and hope. The conservatory reopens in 1947. Not in its old building, that's ruins, but in a requisitioned office building. Basic, functional, barely heated. But it exists. Professor Reinhardt becomes director. I become a teacher. We have 12 students the first year. Young people who want to learn music. Who believe beauty matters. Who choose art over bitterness. It's a small class. But it's a beginning. I teach piano. Theory. History. I share Williams's mother's sheet music. Copy it. Distribute it. Use it to train the next generation. Beethoven survives. Music survives. We survive. Mama's health improves. The city rebuilds. The hospital transitions from emergency care to normal operations. Life slowly, painfully, returns to something resembling normal. 1949-1950. Moving forward. By 1949, Germany splits officially. East and West. Soviet zone and Western zones. Berlin divided. Families separated. The Cold War beginning. New tensions replacing old ones. But life continues. The conservatory grows. We have 50 students now. A proper building, heat, resources. We're training musicians, creating beauty, building culture. I perform occasionally. Small concerts, church halls, community centers. Nothing grand, but I play. I create. I prove that German culture is more than its worst moment, that we can contribute beauty to the world, not just horror. In 1950, Professor Reinhardt retires. The conservatory board asks me to become assistant director. Me, a former Wehrmacht nurse, a prisoner of war, a survivor who'd believed lies and served evil. They want me to lead. I accept, because someone has to. Because the next generation deserves better than we gave them. Because music matters. Because beauty is resistance against ugliness. Because creating is the only revenge worth taking against destruction. 1952. The Visitor. In June 1952, I receive a telegram. Williams is coming to Germany. Business trip. Agricultural exchange program. He'll be in Berlin for 3 days. Could we meet? I'm terrified. 7 years since the camp. 7 years since we'd seen each other. We'd been writing, but writing is different from meeting. What if we have nothing to say? What if the friendship only existed in that specific time and place? What if he arrives on a Tuesday? I meet him at the airport. West Berlin now, modern, rebuilt. He looks older. Still young, 29, but older. Heavier. More serious. Adult. We stare at each other. Then he smiles. Same smile. Same warmth. You look good, he says in his terrible German. Healthy. Happy. So do you. Iowa suits you. It does, but I had to come back. See Berlin. See what you've all built. See you. We spend 3 days together. I show him Berlin. Both sectors, east and west. The rebuilt areas, the remaining ruins, the wall being planned, separating families, dividing the city, the complexity of Cold War Germany. I show him the conservatory, introduce him to students. He sits in on a class, watches me teach. Afterwards, he says, "You found your calling, not just playing music, teaching it, passing it forward. That's beautiful. You taught me that, in the camp. Pay it forward, help others, create beauty. I just reminded you. You did the work." On his last evening, we go to the church. Professor Reinhardt's church, the one with no roof. They've rebuilt it now. Proper roof. Heat. It's a functioning church again, with a piano. I play for Williams. Everything I've learned. Everything I've felt. 7 years of grief and hope and rebuilding compressed into music. Beethoven, Schumann. Some American pieces, too. Gershwin. Songs that bridge our worlds. When I finish, Williams is crying. Thank you for keeping the promise. For playing. For creating beauty in a broken world. Thank you for teaching me I could. For showing me enemies aren't enemies. Just people we haven't understood yet. We stand in the rebuilt church. Two people from opposite sides of a war, and understand. We'd both been changed by each other. Both made better by choosing friendship over hatred. Both proven that reconciliation is possible if we want it badly enough. 1960s, 1970s. Building bridges. The next decades are about building. The conservatory grows. I become director in 1955. We train hundreds of students. German, American, French, British, anyone who wants to learn music. We don't care about nationality, only talent, only passion, only the desire to create. I perform internationally, small tours, guest appearances. A German pianist playing in countries Germany had bombed. It's complicated, controversial. Some people protest. How dare we let Germans perform? Others understand. Art transcends politics. I always play Beethoven, always include Ode to Joy, always end with a reminder. Music is universal. Brotherhood is possible. Enemies can become friends. Williams and I continue writing. He marries, has children. Names his daughter Grace, after me, he says. Greta means pearl. Grace is close enough. I'm honored, humbled. I never marry, never have children. The war took that possibility. But I have students, hundreds of students. They're my legacy. They're proof that from darkness, light can grow. 1989. The wall falls. On November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall falls. East and West Germany begin reunification. Families separated for 40 years reunite. The Cold War ends. Europe exhales. I'm 72 years old enough to remember when Berlin was whole, when Germany was one country, however twisted. Young enough to see it become one again, hopefully better. The conservatory celebrates. We organize a concert at the Brandenburg Gate, the site of division becoming the site of reunion. Symphony orchestra, choir, Beethoven's Ninth, Ode to Joy, the anthem of universal brotherhood. I'm invited to play, honorary performance. The old woman who'd survived everything, who'd been Wehrmacht nurse and POW and teacher and director and living reminder that enemies can become friends. I play the piano solo in the second movement. My hands are old, arthritic, but they remember. They play. The notes come. The crowd is massive. Hundreds of thousands. East and West Germans, Americans, British, French, Russians. Former enemies celebrating together. Proving that peace is possible. That brotherhood wins eventually. That music was right all along. After the concert, someone finds me backstage. An old man, American. White hair. Familiar smile. Williams? Hello, Greta. I couldn't miss this. Not after everything. He's 74 now. Retired farmer, grandfather. But still Williams. Still the young guard who'd shown kindness to a prisoner when he didn't have to. We embrace. Two old people. Two survivors. Two friends who'd bridged the widest gap imaginable. Enemy to friend. Hatred to love. War to peace. We did it, he says. We built the bridge. And it held. We did. Thank you for starting it. That day you brought me sheet music. That small kindness. It changed everything. Small kindnesses matter. That's what my mom always said. Small choices toward good. That's all any of us can do. 2005. Legacy. I'm 88 years old now. Retired from the conservatory. My students run it now. Train the next generation. Keep the tradition alive. Europe is united. The EU exists. Countries that fought the bloodiest wars in history now share currency, borders, governments. It's not perfect. Nothing human is. But it's proof. Reconciliation works. Peace is possible. Enemies can become family. On May 8, 2005, 60 years after Germany's surrender, I'm invited to speak at a ceremony. Veterans from all sides, Americans, British, French, Germans, Russians, all old now, all survivors, all proof that we can move forward. I tell the story: Wehrmacht nurse, POW camp, American Guard, piano, Beethoven, small kindnesses, friendship despite everything, the bridge that held. Music taught me something, I say. It taught me that beauty transcends borders, that art doesn't care about nationality, that Beethoven belongs to everyone, not just Germans. And if music is universal, so is humanity. We're all capable of evil, all capable of good. The difference is choice. I chose hatred first, believed propaganda, served evil, thought Americans were monsters. I was wrong, profoundly wrong. And one American Guard, by being kind when he didn't have to be, showed me the truth. We're all just people, all brothers and sisters, all part of the same human family. The war taught us what happens when we forget that. Millions dead, cities destroyed, evil unleashed. But the peace after, that taught us what happens when we remember. Enemies becoming friends, destruction becoming creation, hatred becoming hope. I'm an old woman now. I'll die soon. But my students continue. The music continues. The bridge continues. And that, more than anything I did in my life, that's what I'm proud of. Not surviving, not playing piano, but helping build a world where former enemies create beauty together. That's Beethoven's vision. Universal brotherhood. Ode to joy. It's possible. We proved it. Europe proved it. We proved it. 2010. Final concert. On June 15, 2010, I give my last public performance. I'm 93. My hands barely work. Arthritis. Age. Time claiming what war couldn't. The concert is at the Berlin Philharmonic. Sold out. Students, colleagues, friends, strangers. People who want to hear the old woman play one last time. The woman who'd bridged impossible gaps. The woman who'd proven music matters. I play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, the piece I'd played in the POW camp, the piece Williams loved, the piece that started everything. I play it imperfectly, miss notes, lose tempo. My hands don't obey like they used to. But the emotion is perfect. The meaning is perfect. The message is perfect. We survived. We rebuilt. We created beauty from ashes. We proved love is stronger than hate. Music is stronger than war. Brotherhood is possible. When I finish, standing ovation. Tears. Everyone understanding. This is the end. The old woman won't play again. This is goodbye. I stand. Bow. Look at the audience. Germans, Americans, people from 50 countries. All here to honor music. All here to prove peace wins. Thank you, I say, for listening, for remembering, for carrying forward what Williams and I started 70 years ago in a POW camp. Keep building bridges, keep creating beauty, keep proving that enemies don't have to stay enemies. Music is universal. Brotherhood is possible. That's what Beethoven taught us. That's what I tried to teach you. Now you teach others. Pass it forward. Small kindnesses, small choices toward good. That's how we save the world. One note at a time, one person at a time, one bridge at a time. I sit back at the piano, play the final chords of the Moonlight Sonata. Let them ring out. Let them fade into silence. The last notes I'll ever play publicly. The last gift I can give. The last bridge I can help build. But it's enough. It's everything. If this story reminded you that enemies don't have to stay enemies, that small kindnesses can change the world, that music and beauty are stronger than hate and destruction, then I need you to do 3 things. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to remember that peace is possible. Subscribe because stories like this are lessons we desperately need in a world that seems determined to divide us.